Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all devotees. Now today's Bhagavatam class. We will start today's Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. We start from yesterday Srimad Bhagavatam Canto first chapter first shloka number first. Yesterday we read one paragraph. We now go ahead from that para. For that we recite shloka once again. Jalma adi achayta अन्वयात इतरतः च अर्थेषु अभिज्ञ स्वराट तेने ब्रह्मरुदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सुरयः तेजवारी मृदाम यथा विनिमय यत्र त्रिसर्ग अमृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्त कुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. सत्यं परं धीमहि. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Vancha kalpatarubecha kripa sindhubev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. From second para, Gaurangi Shakti Mataji will read. Hare Krishna.
Translation. Mataji, translation.
Gaurangi Shakti Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, translation. Vaidai is reading. Vasudev or Lord Sri Krishna Vasudev. From there.
Yes. Vasudev or Lord Sri Krishna is the cause of all causes.
1 minute, Shayad. In the Padma Puran, from Padma Puran. It's right from Padma Puran.
Hare Krishna. We had just finished the introduction yesterday. So we are starting from this particular slide. Next slide.
Yes. Obeisance.
In the Padma Purana, it is also stated that out of the innumerable names of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the principal one. Vasudev indicates the plenary portion of the personality of Godhead, and all the different forms of the Lord, being identical with Vasudev, are indicated in this text. The name Vasudev particularly indicates the divine son of Vasudev and Devaki. Sri Krishna is always meditated upon by the Paramahamsa, who are perfected ones among those in the
Vasudev or Lord Sri Krishna is the cause of all causes. Everything that exists emanates from the Lord. How this is so is explained in later chapters of this work. This work is described by Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya as the spotless Purana because it contains the transcendental narration of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The history of Srimad Bhagavatam is very glorious. It was compiled by Sri Vyasadeva after he had attained maturity in transcendental knowledge. He wrote this under the instructions of Sri Narad Ji, his spiritual master.
Oh, you would like to discuss this
Next.
Or you want to start the next para, Mataji?
Prabhuji, it will be great if you can discuss.
No wasting time.
Hare Krishna. So basically, as we were talking, so we'll have one more paragraph every day. And then we'll have some salient points being discussed. So here again, we are talking about how the reference is being given through Padma Puran, that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is also talking about why Bhagavatam is Amala Puranam. So when it is in
Pura.
purport, Prabhupada is talking about spotless Puran. It is talking about Amala Puran. Amala means spotless, one which does not have dirt. And why it is Amala? Because the description of Krishna and his activities is being considered and explained in this particular literature. How Krishna is also the cause of all causes is an important aspect which is mentioned here, and that gets explained by Prabhupada ji, that regarding this, why Krishna is considered to be the uh, uh, original creator is something which we'll be understanding in detail once we go through the detailed of all these things in subsequent chapters. So that is what is covered here in this particular aspect. The third point which Prabhupada ji is starting, and which is very important for us also to understand, is about the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Vyasdevji has compiled so many literatures, uh, and he has done so many aspects. But then, when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam, it is that particular compilation which has given him the satisfaction. And that detailed story will come in subsequent chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll continue with the
Continue, Mataji.
Vyasadeva compiled all Vedic literatures containing the four divisions of the Vedas, the Vedanta Sutras or the Brahma Sutras, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and so on. But nevertheless, he was not satisfied. His dissatisfaction was observed by his spiritual master, and thus Narada advised him to write on the transcendental activities of Lord Shri Krishna. These transcendental activities are described specifically in the 10th canto of this work. But in order to reach to the very substance, one must proceed gradually by developing knowledge of categories. It is natural that a philosophical mind wants to know about the origin of the creation. At night, he sees the stars in the sky and he naturally speculates about their inhabitants. Such inquiries are natural for a man because man has a developed consciousness which is higher than that of the animals. The author of Srimad Bhagavatam gives a direct answer to such inquiries. He says that Lord Shri Krishna is the origin of all creations. He is not only the creator of the universe, but the destroyer as well.
Continue. No sound,
Mute.
nothing.
You're muted.
sorry, yeah, Hare Krishna. Sorry, apologies. So here we are seeing that Vyasdevji had compiled everything, but he was not satisfied. But then who observed it? It was his spiritual master. See, if you remember, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva Giru Krishna Pasane
Krishna.
Paya Bhakti Lata
Krishna by Bhakti Datta
Bija.
Bija.
So, only if we are lucky, only if we get the mercy of a guru, can our devotional journey be initiated and grow further. And that is why there is also a Vedic injunction that we should approach a spiritual master. The Vedas declare that Vijnanartham Sagurum Eva Abhigachet. So, having a guru is very important. And that is exactly what happened with Srila Vyasdevji. That his dissatisfaction was observed by Sri Naradji. And so Naradji told him what is the reason for it. And he asked him to write on the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna. So if we have to reach to the very substance, we must gradually proceed to develop the knowledge. And our mind, being philosophical, wants to know about the origin of creation. But then what happens is, as we know, because of the effect of Kali, we start going into different directions, start creating our own theses, philosophies, which is not what should be done. We should be looking at getting the knowledge as it is, which comes directly from Krishna. The very first part it all started is that Srimad Bhagavatam was something which was first made known to Brahmaji through his heart. So Brahmaji came to know about it directly in his heart and he became the Adi Kavi. So that knowledge is most important. And all the information, all the queries which we can have, all such questions will have direct answers in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is the origin of all creations. But it's not that he's only a creator, he's also a destroyer. So though we see ki okay, Shivji ki tisri aakh and then destruction, but there's a history which we'll be understanding when we discuss, when we learn this Bhagavatam, particularly in future, how Krishna is also the destroyer of everything. So we'll continue with the next para now.
Manifested cosmic nature is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord. It is maintained for some time and then it is annihilated by his will. Therefore, the supreme will is behind all cosmic activities. Of course, there are atheists of various categories who do not believe in a creator, but that is due to a poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientists, for example, has created space satellites and by some arrangement or other, these satellites are thrown into outer space to fly for some time at the control of the scientist who is far away. Similarly, all the universes with innumerable stars and planets are controlled by the intelligence of the personality of Godhead. In Vedic literatures, it is said that the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living personalities. All living beings, beginning from the first created being Brahma down to the smallest ant, are individual living beings. And above Brahma, there are even other living beings with individual capacities, and the personality of Godhead is also a similar living being. And he is an individual, as are the other living beings. But the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Living Being has the greatest intelligence and he possesses supermost inconceivable energies of all different varieties. If a man's brain can produce a space satellite, one can very easily imagine how brains higher than man can produce similar wonderful things which are far superior. The reasonable person will easily accept this argument, but there are stubborn atheists who would never agree. Srila Vyasadeva, however, at once accepts the supreme intelligence as the Parameshwara. He offers his respectful obeisances unto the supreme intelligence, addressed as the Para or the Parameshwara or the supreme personality of Godhead, and that Parameshwara is Sri Krishna, as admitted in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures delivered by Sri Vyasadeva, and specifically in this Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that there is no other Paratattva, Samam Bonam, that than himself. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva at once worships the Paratattva Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here in this particular paragraph, two aspects are getting covered. One, how the manifested cosmic nature is created and destroyed, and there is a will behind that. And that will is of Lord. So there's a very wonderful story which we almost always hear and which becomes apt that we recite it once again. So we all know how Newton, how Einstein was a very great scientist. Sorry, Einstein. So he was also studying about this planetary exposition. So one day what he did is he had created one small model of the solar planetary system. And the subsequent day his friend came and he saw the model and he said, "Wow, what a wonderful model. You have created everything so perfectly. How did you do it?" So he said, "I didn't know. There was an explosion and this happened." So he said, "What? An explosion and this happened? How is it possible? Please tell me the truth." He said, "Yes, there was an explosion and this model got created." So he said, "Please, you're trying to make fool of me. Tell me the real truth about it." So he said, "Really? When we say that this whole universe is created by Big Bang, this small model cannot be created by an explosion. So if this small model cannot be created by an explosion, how this whole material creation is created by Big Bang?" So this Big Bang theory is futile, useless. If for this small model and intelligence a person was required like me to create, then this whole world, this whole cosmos, which is perfectly in place, perfectly moving appropriately, there must be something which is intelligent. There must be some person who is behind it. And that supreme intelligence, that supreme personality of Godhead is Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram,
Hare Hare.
Hare.
That is what Prabhupada ji is talking about. That though the modern scientists may be creating some satellites or something, but then there are small. The planets, look at the planets, look at the stars. Everything is always in place. So there is a personality who is doing all these things, and that supreme personality, the chief amongst all living personalities, is Krishna. We think that Brahma is the topmost Lord, God, but even above Brahma, there's living beings who have individual personalities, who have individual capacities. And that is why Krishna is individual. So all those who say that no, he is impersonal, they are wrong. There is a proper description of Krishna. He is द्विभुजधारी बांसुरी बजाने वाला हमारा गोविंद. That is his original swarup, which is described in the scriptures. So this intelligence is beyond conception. We cannot understand him because he was there before. He is there and he'll always be there even after annihilation. So being a reasonable person, we should simply accept the supreme intelligence as Parameshwara and offer our obeisances to it, as done by Sri Vyasadeva. And then he started describing about this. And that is why Krishna is called as Paratattva. Paratattva means Samam Bonam. There is nothing else equivalent to him. And so Vyasdevji is now starting the description of this Bhagavatam by going ahead and describing about Paratattva.
Unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto and especially just to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's Rasa dance. This portion of Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of this great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes called Rasa dance and his love affairs with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated persons who have gradually attained to the stage of Paramhansa can transcendentally relish this Rasa dance. Srila Vyasadeva therefore gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahmanical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully and then attain to the stage of transcendently realizing the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarup of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. And his potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience. Srila Vyasdev makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. Srila Vyasdev says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. In the desert mirage, there is no actual water. There is only the appearance of water. Real water is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appears as reality, but reality of which this is but a shadow is in the spiritual world. Absolute truth is in the spiritual sky, not the material sky. In the material sky, everything is relative truth. That is to say, one truth depends on something else. This cosmic creation results from the interaction of the three modes of material nature, and the temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of the conditioned soul, who appears in so many species of life, including the higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actuality, there is no reality in the manifested world. There appears to be reality, however, because of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally exists with his transcendental paraphernalia. The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although affairs are being carried out by demigods. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements as well as spiritual sparks emanate from him only. And whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of the two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. A chemist can manufacture water in the chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen.
Krishna. So basically, let us summarize what we are reading till now. Now it becomes very important to understand. Suppose there's a 3-year-old child who is now getting admission into nursery, and we tell him, can you tell us what is sine theta by cos theta? In fact, most of us here right now may not be remembering what is sine theta by cos theta. Maybe someone may remember who is actually going into engineering. But then for a 3-year-old child, something like this is Greek and Roman. Because without knowing the basics, we are talking about so advanced trigonometry. The knowledge always has to be started slowly and steadily. First numbers, then relations, then tables, then multiplications, the board mass aspects. And then maybe you'll introduce to algebra and then trigonometry. That is how slowly you get studies. So similarly, we should not go directly to the 10th canto and definitely not directly to the 5 chapters wherein there is a description of Krishna's beautiful dance with the gopis. We won't be able to understand it because of the effects of Kali and the materialism. We need to develop and understand everything about Krishna first and then understand his detailed affairs from Canto 10. So after having explained this, what also becomes important is to re-emphasize why this is required. Because Bhagavatam is actually to be known only when you are suitable enough. So, how do we achieve that suitability? How do we become successful? So, Sri Vasudev says that you need to develop your spiritual realization slowly. And for that, Sri Prabhupada ji has done a wonderful thing for us. He has given us a great sadhana chart for our daily activities, right from the time we wake up till the time we go to sleep. So that 24 by 7, we are always in remembrance of Krishna. So early morning, waking up, completing our activities, attending Mangal Aarti, chanting the Shikshashtakam, chanting the offenses to the holy name, and then 16 rounds of chanting, followed by studies of the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, then having your morning breakfast prasadam, continuing with your material activities throughout the day with Krishna in our heart, again in the evening getting fresh, attending the Sandhya Aarti or the uh, Sandhya Aarti, and then waiting one more study of scriptures in the evening, then waiting for the Lord to show his Shan Darshan, and then allowing the Lord to sleep, and we also retiring for the day, seeking forgiveness for whatever we have done. Such a wonderful way to live life. That is what we are supposed to be doing. And that is when we'll be spiritually advanced, and we can become and acquire Brahminical qualities when we will understand the transcendental realization of Lord, His name, His fame, His qualities, and so many aspects. So this Bhagavatam is actually the description of the Swarupa of the Lord, which is given by His, which is about His internal potency. And then we have the material world, which is created by the external potency, which is illusion. So we know what illusion is. Something which does not exist is illusion. So this temporary world is dukkhalayama shashvata. It is an illusion, but it is created so that we rectify ourselves. This cosmic creation results because of the interaction of the three gunas, and this is temporary, so that the bewildered mind which is there can be controlled, and we become suitable enough to go back home, back to Godhead, which is the reality. So this is the important aspects. So we'll continue our studies like this tomorrow as well. So thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions, we'll take them one question right now, or we'll start our chanting session. I'll share the attendance link wherein you can mark your questions as well. So kindly repeat after me. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.